Oh, what a night. But it's not late December 1963. No, it's a landmark wrestling show on TNT from Arthur Ashe Stadium. What a night. And Bryan Danielson kicks it off against an Omega we have rarely seen, at least not in the land of All Elite. Let's praise the show. Oh, what a night. I'm John Martin with my review of AEW Dynamite, AEW Grand Slam Royale with Cheese. Holy fucking shit, this show was firing on all luau cylinders. My fucking goodness, this is as close to a perfect wrestling show as AEW could have hoped for. The stadium, the crowd, everything was electric. Dun, 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 dun. Even the ramp, with LED boards and everything, they went all out. Ironic, considering that All Out was just a few weeks ago, but seriously, this was a fucking terrific show. Was everything absolutely 100% perfect? No, because no wrestling show is going to be 100% perfect. You're going to have a few things that are like, okay, that was what it was, but really, everybody was amped up. This was a pay-per-view worthy Dynamite, and it was really terrific. Let me know your thoughts on this show in the comments, please. I'm going to have some heavy praise, and I would love to know what you guys have to say, because my fucking goodness, this felt big time. This felt really goddamn big. I can't wait for Rampage, a 2-hour edition of Rampage. I'm really amped up to see how AEW is going to carry this momentum. Sure, they still have their issues, but this was a landmark night. So, the Arthur Ashe Stadium setting was really cool. The crowd was all amped up. I love the set. I love the LED ramp. I just loved everything. I thought it was great. It reminded me of those Nitros when they ran those big arenas, those big stadiums. And the American Dragon has returned. This is no longer the yes man. Nope, this is the American Dragon. The American Angry Dragon. Wait, maybe not that. Bryan Danielson. I'm trying really hard to not call him Daniel Bryan, so I'm sorry if I slip up during this review. And we have Kenny Omega coming out. This is as close to New Japan Kenny Omega as we're going to get. More serious. Yes, he still did the jazz hands thing and everything and all that stuff that he did in New Japan, but this is the more serious Kenny Omega, the one that we wanted to see, where no, Kenny Omega has never been my favorite. He will never be my favorite wrestler, but I have praised his work in the past. I loved his series of matches against Okada. That Dominion 2018 2 out of 3 falls no time limit match is still one of my favorite matches of all time. He did some great work in previous G1s, especially in G1 2028, the last one that he did. And unfortunately, Callis is out there, but you know what? I'm going to try to overlook some of the negatives on this, despite the fact that Callis looked like, an expired bottle of Pepto-Bismol, and his invisible hands are probably everywhere around the women's division. But positive. Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. Okay, it's a 30-minute time limit non-title match, and I'm going to surprise all of you by saying this is going to be on my favorite matches of the year list. It may end up being pretty goddamn high. This is the kind of shit that AEW can do better on American television than just about anybody else. And yes, I know Impact has done a whole bunch of, really good matches. Nobody's really watching them because Impact's pretty much just shot themselves in the foot to the point where basically Kerry Von Erich, pre-1993 had a better, post-86 and pre-93 had a, more stable foot than they did. But also Ring of Honor has done some good stuff. WWE has done their set of, great TV matches and really bad creative. And sure, AEW has its flaws. This was pay-per-view worthy. This would have fit right in no matter what pay-per-view they had. And nobody would have been upset by the finish, despite how the crowd reacted. But New York is AEW country, you can feel it, says Excalibur. He may be right. I mean, I know that WWE is always going to be seen as the king, and sure, as long as they keep printing money, it is what it is. And I'm not turning this into a WWE, AEW thing, except to say Vince fucked up by letting a whole bunch of people go. He is out of touch, and this is really starting to feel like, an actual competition. It's not just feeling like an alternative. Sure, their ratings may never rise much above like 1.5 or 2 million, and ratings aren't everything, but they have a lot of buzz behind them, and this is a big match. Why? Like, Bryan did everything he could and everything possible in WWE. Crowd was fired up. Bryan was feeling it. I'm really feeling it. And he did some kicks and some. Yes, there was overselling by Omega. You're gonna get that, but in the early going, they were slow, deliberate. The heavy chops, which was nice. We get the old Bryan Danielson, the old Stone Cold. And the chops, the kicks were laid in. The crowd was just solidly behind Bryan. It's not that they didn't appreciate Omega, but they were obviously behind Bryan here. The discoloration from the chops was just absolutely crazy. Their chest looked like the color of this fucking shirt, not black. That would have meant an infection and probably go to the hospital for that. But Omega does a dive outside. there was a Daniel Bryan did some kind of, I actually forget what the name of the move is, but he did a flip over into like it was like a full Nelson trap, which was really goddamn impressive. An arm lock, that was very good. We get kicks on the ramp and then a snapdragon on the ramp that Omega did everything he could to protect Bryan doing that. I mean, not that Omega's careless. I'm not accusing that, but you can only protect somebody so much trying to do a bump like that. It seemed like a good idea. And I was like, yeah, sure, a guy with neck injuries and concussions, let's just do that. But it played in. V trigger running down the ramp into, and then he just he just bounces over the ropes. He gets the momentum, just carried him right over there. Fucking terrific. Hugely electric crowd. In fact, I would almost argue that this could have broken the crowd, except the crowd was pretty much amped the whole goddamn show. With a few lulls, because you're going to get that. We go to a break, and then we get a buckle bomb over the ropes. We get V triggers, a plenty, like a few of them, and then we get, which would be a plenty, avalanche backdrop by Bryan. We get a trap, weird trap capture. That was really good stuff. Great submissions. Avalanche Dragon Suplex for 2, where Bryan had to basically rotate, or otherwise he would have landed badly on his neck. Poison Rana counter to counter the One Wing Angel, the Sephiroth finisher. And then we get kicks and a V trigger, and we get a Miss Phoenix splash. We get stomps, kick, LaBelle to the ropes, and then moves spamming. They're chopping and kicking each other, and the bell rings as they're firing up. And the crowd boos. But it was the right call, because even though it was non-title, you just had Omega get beat about a month ago on Rampage for the Impact World Championship, back when that... remember when that title was prestigious? I sure don't. And you weren't going to have Omega get beat yet at this point, but you couldn't have Bryan get beat. And I don't think Bryan had a problem doing a draw. It was like, okay, you go down the road, you maybe have this at Full Gear, or you have it at Revolution next year, you let this thing go out, stretch it out a bit. The Bucks and Cole come down and they throw Bryan off, and they eventually hit a triple super kick because we have to get stuff from the Elite. And could the Bucks actually dress like they aren't complete fucking douchebags? We know they are, but seriously, they're dressed fucking ridiculous. They have a whole bunch of money, and they still dress like they're trying to be 70s porn stars. Have fun on seeing that. I'm never going to get that image out of my head, no matter how many times I try to, I don't know, take care of this. I'm going to make that pen disappear, literally, because it just fell down. So anyway, terrific fucking match. Really good shit. Really good shit. One of my favorite matches of the year. They kept the pace up. They slowed down when needed. It was perfectly paced. Bryan, I think it was obvious he was calling most of this, because you could kind of tell, like, just he knows his body, he knows what he can do, but this is terrific stuff. Now let's pick it up with Punk coming out to a massive pop. They sing along to Cult of Personality. He says, I'm sure glad that I'm not wrestling on Dynamite, because how the hell do you follow that? He's firing the crowd up. He says, it's been a long time since pro wrestling has been back in New York City. Now, people could say, oh, well, he's taking shots at WWE. I mean, I kind of get it. I kind of get it with him. I saw him at the 2013 Slammies, so it was about 7-8 weeks before he left the company. He looked done then, and I don't blame him, and he appreciates pro wrestling, and that's fine. It is what it is, because Punk can get away with that stuff. And talking about Team Taz, careful what you wish for. Why the old CM Punk, the old Stone Cold, no. He says he's happy. He says that this is mine once again, and that, well, that table bump, you should have finished the job. It's like, it's not about waking you up. It's about tucking you in. On Rampage, Powerhouse Hobbs goes to sleep. Good stuff. MJF comes out to heavy boos. Brian Pillman Jr. comes out to a pop with J-U-L-A-A. Is Griff just selling the stuff, or did they forget to give him a plane ticket? I'm surprised Griff Garrison wasn't out there. Now, I know why Julia was out there, considering what they did. Let's hear it for MJF. Pillman Jr. jump starts. MJF, just such a great goddamn heel. My favorite heel in wrestling. And I know some people may disagree. Some people may feel that Jay White is the best heel in wrestling, and that's fine. I prefer MJF's matches, but we can all prefer what we prefer. Arm focus by MJF. Considering the promos that they have done in just for the last couple of weeks, and MJF basically cursing the existence, the entire family tree of the Pillman family, I kind of felt like this match, I understood what they were doing. It was more old school, because MJF, outside of doing the Acai moonsault against Jericho at All Out, he's not going to do tons of flips and stuff like that, and he shouldn't. And Pillman Jr. was fired up. He hit a crossbody, but was still on the arm, because MJF kept beating it up, going for the salt of the earth. get a spot with Julia where he's like, oh, come on, give me a kiss on the cheek. She slaps him. He grabs her wrists and everything and stuff like that. And then Pillman Jr. dives on, basically, or stops that, and then, like, high fives Julia or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, I'm in a blood feud. Let me go do this. Oh, I get locked in the salt of the earth and I tap out. So, good job, Julaa. It's not her fault. And I think she's got great potential. It's like, she's probably better just being featured as a manager or a valet right now. Maybe feature her a little bit in the Universal Studios saying and let her get some more experience. But MJF getting the victory, the right call. Alex Marvez is then interviewing Hager and Jericho. Easy for me to say. Hager talks about the Man of the Year basically being boys that need to be spanked. Whatever you're into, Hager. Whatever you're into, you idiot. Jericho then yells a lot. I don't care about this. I don't care about this at all. Jericho, honestly, I really hope his contract is up soon. He just decides to go away because now he's a detriment to AEW. I mean, he didn't take anything away from the show because it was a pre-tape, and I have no desire to see this because I love Scorpio Sky, but I don't care about this. I don't care about this match. So we get Malachi's entrance, which is just something else. He really feels like a big goddamn star, all the stuff. Of course, the antler thing reminds me that I need to see that movie Antlers. It's out in about a month. Been waiting for that goddamn thing for about a year and a half. And Del Toro is producing it, so great. Heavy boos for Cody. Heavy boos. My fucking goodness. People say, oh, Cody needs to turn heel. Cody already is a heel because he thinks he's his dad. He's not his dad. His dad now is better than Cody is. And his dad, unfortunately, has been passed away since 2005. It's not that Cody isn't a good athlete. He's a very good athlete. And he's done some good stuff, but he's not his dad. Genuine question, and this is the only time I'm going to rant a little bit. Why is Brandy here? Why are you here? Like Brandy's going to watch this. This is not anything against the person. But whenever she opens her mouth about AEW or wrestling, she basically sticks her foot in her goddamn mouth and then a whole goddamn leg, and it's to the point where it's like, like a horror movie or maybe like, stuff Human Centipede together. It's just fucking ridiculous that she's here. I'm glad that her and Cody have a happy, healthy boy, or girl rather, named Liberty, which I'm sure they're going to shorten the lib, so Cody says cry more lib if you get what I'm saying. Brandy offers nothing. Absolutely nothing as an on-screen character. She doesn't need to be here. And I'm going to get into a little bit more. So, I would say the same goddamn thing if Brandy was a star and Cody was riding her coattails. Coattails, if you will. Malachi Black versus Cody Rhodes. Okay, Arn Anderson's also in the corner. Let's remember that. Arn. Seriously. I mean, I really hope that Arn can lose some weight. I mean, sure, everybody has issues later in life, but my fucking goodness. Oh, boy. So, crowd is into it. Boos every time. Anytime Cody even tried an offensive maneuver, they were booing the fuck out of him. As they should have. Nobody really cares for Cody. I mean, if you do, that's fine. But Cody keeps doing this. He'll go away. He'll come back. I was worried that they were going to have Cody get his win back here. They didn't. They did a bit goofy. This is about the only complaint I really have about the show. Not that Malachi won, but just kind of how they did it. Because I was like, did it really help him? But anyway. So Malachi does the pose thing and sits down and does the cross-legged thing. I can't do the cross-legged thing because I'm currently sitting in an office chair and I would break my legs, even though some people have wanted to break my legs for having opinions on wrestling. I don't get it because I'm just a wrestling fan. But whatever. Anyway, Brandy then does it. I'm not advocating that Malachi Black would have done this, but, he would have been the biggest face in the goddamn world if just one kick to knock that useless trash heap out of wrestling, at least off camera. She could be backstage, do executive stuff, pretend like, she wouldn't be doing something else, that she wasn't married to somebody in the wrestling business. She could pretend to do whatever, and she could use her college education to provide stuff off camera. The fact that she did that was fucking embarrassing. This would have been the perfect spot if Zelina Vega was not back in WWE. If she was there, could you imagine if she had been at ringside, like, been part of, this dark carnival, so to speak? Maybe not the dark carnival, bad choice of words, but could have been that, and then just could have attacked Brandy, glommed her, and fought off. I mean, Zelina, even on her worst day, could out-wrestle Brandy, because Brandy's like a goddamn cow on ice. Okay, positive. Brandy Rhodes should have not been there, because it was fucking embarrassing. Because I think she knows that people don't like her, And I'm not going to go, one thing I will not do, I will not go the race route. Nobody needs to go the race route. It doesn't matter what her race is. She's just not any good as a character. Now, let's get back to the positives, though. Malachi did some great shit here. He did the best he could. This was probably the weakest match on the show, if we're being perfectly honest. Because Cody just isn't as good as he thinks he is. He's a good athlete, but he tries to do some stuff like Cody tumbles outside after getting hit with the black mass. He does hit the Cody cutter very awkwardly. He probably should stop doing that. And the crossroads for 2. Arn then tries to go around the ring post. After he's on there, realizing he's in the wrong spot, tries to do it and tumbles. And I know he's old. And I appreciate Arn Anderson for the great promos and the great stuff that he did in wrestling for his entire career and everything. And the career being cut short because of the botched surgery. And I feel bad for him. Arn, seriously, should have got down, got back up. Would people have noticed? Yes, but it wouldn't have been nearly as awkward. He gets back up on the ring apron and gets knocked down in that spot. And then Cody goes to check on him. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, he doesn't say that. I mean, he might as well have. Get back out there, or get back in there and beat him. So Malachi is out there. And Cody's punching him in the corner and everything. And then Malachi's getting ready to do something. Cody, hits the referee. I don't remember what the referee's name is. And then, man, Malachi's black mass all over Cody's face, impacting all over Cody's face. He used the miss spot. Okay, why? Could just use the kick. Just saying. I mean, nothing wrong. They're trying to make him a heel, and yes, he has a heel look, and people can boo him somewhat, but they're going to cheer the cool entrance and the offense and everything, and the weird eye thing that he still has for some odd reason. Don't know why he's carrying that on, but hey, it is what it is. I like the look. And I like the fact that he got the win, but he got the win with an inside cradle. This is not Jim Crockett Promotions in the 80s, even though I love that stuff. This is not everybody just using the most devastating maneuver in all professional wrestling. Surprise roll up 1, 2, 3. Black mass would have been more impactful. Not his black mass, being misted all over Cody's face. That's my opinion. That's my only critique of this. I'm glad that Malachi got the victory. I'm just worried they're going to build it to full gear and Malachi is going to lose. Really, Malachi should be the one guy that Cody can't figure out. Mainly because this should be the one black person that Cody can't figure out. Oh, this is going to go well. So anyway, and I know that it's just Malachi Black in name only. So yes, he got the victory by spraying his black mass over Cody's face. As I believe I've said about 20 million times. Miro Sammy pre-tape. Miro mentions his previously broken neck in 2012. Actually totally forgot about that. Which reminds me that Bill DeMott should be blacklisted from wrestling for good because he's a goddamn piece of shit for abusing trainees. And also, his best moments were as General Rection. He's probably upset he was referred to as a dick, which is what he is in real life. So, and Sammy was talking about, oh, you took my buddy's car or whatever. Well, I'm going to take your title and I'm going to buy him a new car. This is not very good how they're doing this. I did like how Miro said, my God demands pain, my wife demands pleasure, and sometimes pain. This is exactly how I like Miro being featured. Good stuff, good pre-tape. And I look forward to what they're going to do next week. I'm worried they're going to give the title to Sammy. I don't think they should. Nothing against Sammy. I think Miro should have a run where he just carries it to Revolution. Seriously, I think he's been doing a really good job as TNT champion. FTR entrance, Sting and Darby entrance. Crowd really pops for Sting. I mean, they pop for Darby, but they really pop for Sting. FTR... with Tully versus Sting and Darby. I gotta be honest, this kind of felt like they were just kind of trying to recapture that old Nitro magic, and it wasn't a bad match. This is gonna be quick. The crowd is into it, especially for Sting. Darby does get, a tag and does hit some stuff. The coffin splashes and everything, but then gets beat up for a bit. Does get a nice hot tag at one point. Stinger splashes aplenty. He hits a double one, then hits one on Cash, and then Dax has a chair set up in the corner. And Sting realizes that the chair's there. Darby's laid out at this point. And he stops that, and then Dax ends up going into it when Tully accidentally, causes a distraction, because why not? Let's possibly split up this trio, because that's a great idea. And then he gets Scorpion Deathlock on Cash, or on Dax rather, and Darby hits a coffin drop on Cash on the apron. Ouch. And he needs to take the Scorpion Deathlock out of his repertoire because he can't even lean back anymore. My fucking good. I mean, granted, he's 62 with spinal stenosis, and Could FTR have been arrested for beating up the elderly is my question. I love Sting, but it is what it is. That being said, fine match, crowd was into it. Recaps of Britt and Ruby's War of Words, and then Rampage, Grand Slam. Sorry, guys, remember to do that for whatever reason. Punk versus Hobbs with Hook! And Suzuki and Archer versus Mox and Kingston. Lights out match. That's going to be the main event because lights out. Lucha Bros, Santana Ortiz versus the Hardy Family Orifice members. Private Party, and I believe Butcher and the Blade. Anybody really care about that? I mean, honestly, it's a way to get people in the car, but it is what it is. I do also know, and I'm aware that they taped Rampage, and please don't put the spoilers in the comments. Let's not do that. Anna Jay versus Penelope. Alright, anyway, Cole and the Bucks versus Cage and Jurassic Express. I'm guessing that Jungle Boy will probably take the pin there. And Men of the Year, not the Zebrahead song, that was Playmate of the Year, versus Jericho and Hager. Expect Dan Lambert to get involved at some point. Ruby got a pop, so does Britt. Britt coming out with Rebel and Jamie. My fucking goodness, Jamie is a distraction. And I mean a good kind of distraction. She's fucking beautiful. But these women, they worked hard. I gotta be honest though, I'm glad that they put the women in the main event, and I get why. Britt, gained a big win here. Was the right call. Ruby not winning the title was definitely the right call. Nothing against Ruby at all. I almost think that they kind of exhausted the crowd to the point where they were reacting and they were into it, and they liked the fact that Britt won. They appreciated the effort. I almost think that you could have put this in the MJF Pillman Jr. spot, because even though the women main event, it's a big deal, the crowd was exhausted by this point. They might have been more into it, more receptive to it with Ruby versus Britt in that second match spot. But good on the women for main eventing. Ruby's going to take her love to town, says JR. As far as old references, I probably shouldn't say anything. I did like how they worked hard and everything. Ruby, she absolutely deserves the spotlight, and Britt has really worked hard as champion. Air Raid, Avalanche, Crash for 2, and then we get the stomp on the steps, the stomp in the ring for 2. Ruby then kicks Britt with what used to be the Riot Kick, I forget what they're calling it now, does the same to Rebel, and then Jamie throat drops her on the ropes, and then Lockjaw for the win. Britt celebrates, and there we go. Now we see what Rampage Grand Slam has to offer. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on the show in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Redland. I'll see you soon.